Hello, 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 everybody. Hope 2024 is treating you okay so far. Now that the holidays are over, I'm managing to get a lot of stuff done you can't normally get to do because everything's shut down. And but it was nice, nice time off though. No complaints. So some more comics randomly picked from my spinner rack. Now, Kamandi. So many people love Kamandi. When I was a kid and everything, it was very much a Planet of the Apes knockoff that either Carmen Infantino suggested or Kirby came up with. I don't know the complete truth, but it doesn't matter because it lasted like 40 some issues, and the first 40 were Kirby, and then I think Jerry Conway and some other people took over. But what's interesting is the Superman suit, and I kind of wonder if that was something Carmen Infantino might have come up with because. All the Kirby's books in general are their own thing. They're in the Kirbyverse. They don't do a lot of He didn't like a lot of crossovers, and part of it was he didn't want to worry about continuity with other books. Just didn't want to be bothered, and also he was a guy who penciled a panel, then another panel, then another panel, then another. He really had a very general idea in his mind how he wanted his comics to be, but he didn't plan ahead. He had a very loose way of planning ahead, like where he wants to go, but it's just that he needed freedom to just keep freewheeling it. I mean, he was the only artist I know that actually could start with one panel, keep going, and it looks great and it reads great. It's just there's some wonkiness to it, but I mean, he would just freewheel it, and considering all the books he's done, it's worked for him, and I don't know anybody else that works like that before or since. I like that. Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth, inked by D. Bruce Berry, I think. Who I think initially, I don't know if Royer came along initially, or if it was when Bruce D. Berry comes. I think Bruce started around 74 or so. So yep, Bruce D. Berry, and so there is an image of Superman, a carving, like Ancient Aliens sort of feel to it. Before there was Ancient Aliens, and I like that. That's pretty cool. And they have an omnibus of Kamandi, I believe. There's Ben Boxer, I think, yeah, and I don't remember a lot. I mean, I read these out of order, but what's neat is this chapter 2. He breaks up into several chapters. He always gives you a great splash page, so pretty neat. And for a kid, it's like, we all love Planet of the Apes, and this was just like one step further. It was, it was in comic form, and it wasn't an adaptation of a movie. For many years, I really hated adaptations of movies, except Logan's Run. Logan's Run, the comic, was far superior than the movie, and that's that's a movie they really need to redo. So we're getting into the DC's version of the Treasury editions. There's Joe Kubert's The Bible. Wow, I remember seeing that. It was on the stands. There's not much I could say here other than drink in the really cool artwork and the storytelling. That's the funny thing. I mean, that's the thing about Kirby is he was probably the only guy. Love that. Love those. It's basically a chatter gun, with a Gatling gun, I guess. I ordered some of these stick-ons. And Ben, good stuff. I'm not going to tell you the ending because, So, Captain America, always been a fan. I read it even in the times where I was really tight on money because I love Captain America. And the whole thing with U.S. Agent, the whole thing where he stepped down and John Walker took over, that was a really great storyline for a year and a half. So, it was like issue 250 is when he came back to being Cap, and Grunwald really put a ton of action and really intriguing storylines in the following years. Now, Grunwald's final year of Captain America is actually coming out this February. It's a Marvel Epic Collection, so you might want to check it out. It has a Diodato cover. So Kieran Dwyer kicking ass. He is, I think, the stepson of John Byrne. I'm pretty sure for the time that Byrne was married to his mom. Anyway, Danny Bullinotti is the anchor over Kieran, and you know what? I like it. In the past, I've been unfair to Danny Bullinotti, and I think it's because the artist he had been paired up with maybe didn't work. You know, back then, inkers and pencilers, they really had to mesh. What's funny, this Acts of Vengeance, where it's like 100-year-old, like the oldest comic book concept of all, where all the villains trade off their normal heroes to defeat them. And, this is like a couple years after Dark Knight and what else? Watchmen and all that. And, I'm sure a lot of people sneered at this, but I loved it. I'm still a big kid, Just ask my wife. So, amazing friggin'... Oh, briefly, Skull and the Wizard and the Kingpin and the Mandarin and the Magneto and Doctor Doom, they've gotten together to do such a thing, superhero swap. It's like wife swap on TV, but actually more entertaining, I imagine. The Wizard, he's one character I thought, why would he be in those guys' league? He was always been a jerk. He led the Frightful Four, but he always bungled it. And Kingpin is more of a street level guy, which I don't know. I would have gotten like two more like really high level villains. However, oh my god, this is great. Skull. Okay, here we go. Skull, we must talk. And he's like, I got already mutant. Sent all these machinery. Magneto pretty much laughs at it. He says, are you the same Red Skull that worked for Adolf Hitler? And he goes, yes, although I am on my second body. Lure the fool closer. And all these people come after Magneto. He just waves them away. And he does the old, we are much alike, you and I, Magneto. Both of us wish to see our master race inherit the earth. Yada, 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 yada. Moral superiority. I love that face. So shake hands, and he says, the devil with that scum. Nazi scum. Come back here, coward. And, Skull. Here comes the controller, old Iron Man foe, who now works for the Red Skull. Great line. You've got something I want, Magneto. A pity we'll never know what it is. He's like, oh, Captain America, but I thought must have been a novel experience. Good old Grunwald, man, I miss him. It's been a long time. Love the color choices here, the limited color palette there. Don't need to be all ambient light. A little coloring mishap, but that's the only one. And Kieran Dwyer, I love the musculature he gives figures. Yeah, I love the weight he gives them. A really, really spiffy Kino. Okay. So, let's get back to the Red Skull. God, man. I gotta stop biting my nails someday. Oh. Here's another thing I love. Tearing apart one of those sleepers. Surrounded by Red Skulls. It goes, you'll never guess which one of us is the real Skull before I annihilate you. I don't need to guess. I know. So, he says, robots, a whole lot of them. The Skull must have as big a fetish for artificial men as Doctor Doom does. And he sees the Skull went away. He's on a track, getting away in a, what do they call those? Not a shuttle. What you know what I'm talking about? Underground tunnel. That whoosh, that is like a callback to early Marvel sound effects, like Artie Simic or Sam Rosen. And the thing is, I'm 100% sure that it was drawn in there by Kieran Dwyer, because it just seems like something he would do. No disrespect to the letter of this book. Well, yeah, basically gets Skull, traps him. I've placed you in solitary confinement. You are in a former fallout shelter some 20 feet underground. And he goes, that's one escape hatch. You got rid of the ladder. Has us 10 gallons of water. You preserve it. You'll need it. Down here, there's no light, no food, no amenities, no companionship, just water and air. I want you to sit down here and think of the horrors you perpetrate. I want you to suffer as you made others suffer. I want you to wish I had killed you. I take my leave of you, Skull. Wow. And guess what? That's not enough. That's a lot of story. But it was only 18 pages, and there's a great backup by Mark Grunwald, Ed Bagley, Don Hudson. It's really good. Now that one I won't spoil. It's pretty good. Marvel Team Up. Human Torch and Iceman. This came out like a year or so before I got into comics, but once in a while, in grade school, somebody might bring a comic book, and, somebody had this. And of course, he let me, thumb through it, but I wanted to take it home, but I wouldn't do that. I mean, it's a natural thing. Roy Thomas really was trying to push the torch to bring him back to his former glory, even though the former glory was in the 40s with the artificial Human Torch, and this is Johnny Storm, who's pretty shallow, and for a long time he's had no real personality of being shallow and hot-headed, and I think finally they've embraced it. They kind of said, okay, he's not really, he would be that interesting to follow issue by issue, but, that's just his thing. There's Iceman. I love those logos together. So Spidey's leaving. He's using one of the FFs. And here we go. This is how insane a mid-70s Marvel book was. Okay, Torch is all torqued off. He goes inside. He flames off, sits. Cripes, what am I doing? That settles it. Next, I'll be clipping out paper dollies. So he takes off. It's just so funny. It's like he comes in, leaves. It's like that's such a silly... there's no real point to it. And, he's following up on a lead that Spider-Man gave him. And the red costume, I'll have to show you in another episode. For a while, Medusa filled in for the Invisible Girl, who was going through a separation from Reed Richards, her husband, and Medusa filled in. And she had a Fantastic Four costume that was purple. He got one that was much like the original Human Torches. And Ben kept the same blue boxer shorts or whatever they are, briefs. This is really cute. And also, it's a rare Gil Kane interior stuff. He's so busy, doing so many covers. And then he uses ice to, snip off the lasso. It's totally absurd, but, Gil Kane makes it look pretty fun. So I don't care. But, I mean, of course, they fight. That's what all Marvel team-up stories do. They slug it out. And here come and at the time there was no Aurora Monroe, there was no Peter Rasputin, there was no Wolverine, there was none of the new characters. So this is like the wilderness years, and there is a collection, an X-Men collection called "It's Always Darkest," meaning Darkest Before the Dawn, and it reprints all the books that the X-Men guest starred in, and it covers all the Beasts solo stories from Amazing Adventures. It's like 5-6 issues, and then little stuff like this, and it's very enjoyable. They made a Marvel Masterworks out of it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money. That's a real weird pose there, but McCain, he's another guy. I don't think he ever looked back, and ooh. Goody. Hold on a second. I got a Marvel value stamp. I used to clip these out, but I never set them in. So, here we go. Okay. I'm going to put this on eBay and make $400,000. And then I can finally buy some Silver Age art. There we go. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, years later, you would find comics with the Marvel value stamp missing, but it might be at a show, and it might be somebody who really didn't look inside the comic for anything. So there, I have me a Marvel value stamp. So I hear everybody cringing when I do that, but this is a reading copy. So Equinox, the guy who's he's specially made to fight. It's just a weird little thing. It's comics. It's just a wacky thing, and fun stuff. Okay, now I had this planned on a previous episode, and I had so many takes with that episode that I plumb forgot I didn't even cover it. I had covered it. the last take that worked, I never got around to it. So this is George Perez, who took over after Dick Dillon passed away. And both of them were great at doing like team dynamics, but I started picking this up. I picked up JLA sporadically, but when Perez came aboard, I had to, here's another thing. In the early 80s, DC was doing such great stuff with adding it's a new 16-page comic with no extra charge. They did this with Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. They did it with Captain Carrot and Amazing Zoo Crew. It was just really fun. I mean, they were trying to keep up with Marvel, but they really couldn't. Creatively, they were at least as good as Marvel. They took more chances. Jerry Conway, who took over and did it for a long time, all the way to the end of when the Justice League Detroit, when those characters got killed, they broke up. John Beatty, who's Mike Zeck, most known for inking Mike Zeck, George Perez. So Aquaman's coming out of the water. And what I really like is the inks are bold. They ground everything. Right before Perez hopped over from Marvel, he got some shitty inking. And I wouldn't blame him if that was half the reason. But, doing the new Teen Titans as well. He's talking about Red Tornado, as my friend used to call it. Red Tornado. Beautiful 4-panel sequence. And that's the first time I thought, Aquaman's a kind of a badass. But his moment of glory is shot short. He goes way down there. Typical beautiful. I just can't figure out how he works his buildings in. I mean, he makes it, even if it doesn't fully work, it's like, it gives the illusion that it is. Firestorm's a new member, and I liked Firestorm. Basically his costume, but his powers are wonky. So Superman shows up. Flash fills him in, plays with the Rubik's Cube, which had just come out like a year prior. Tosses it in the air, catches it in mid-sentence. And Firestorm doesn't believe it, and they're kind of busting on him because he's a dork. That's a great panel there. Green Lantern. And then there's I don't know who did this Green Arrow ad, but it's not that interesting. Okay, T.O. Morrow, the professor who somehow dresses up like a supervillain, he takes apart Red Tornado, and he actually created him. And I love the name T.O. Morrow because it taught me how to spell tomorrow. That's early DC was really good about that kind of stuff, like giving you little nuggets. Here we go. All-Star Squadron. You got some rich buckler action with Giordano. Really fun. It's lasted like 60 issues at least. I mean, it lasted a long time, right? But then Crisis on Infinite Earth's pretty much wiped it out, and then there was only several other. Got that Neil Adams charge going there. But I mean, look how heavy it is on every page. I mean, when it's something Roy loves, he will just fill that page. In fact, if I was the artist, I would say, well, okay, write everything in there and I'll go around it. But then again, if you get somebody who does a lot of writing, it kind of makes it easy to draw. There's the cover for the first issue. Because, you can just cut short. Here comes. Love that blow. Here's the Tornado Tyrant, who is an early foe of the JLA. There's Wonder Woman Green Lantern. He's shielding her, and he's just using a flat shield, and she gets a rock, tosses it up, turns it back. He's only doing a shield. It's like, if I was Green Lantern, I would have a bubble around me all the time because it whips around them, takes them out. And it actually has an origin that ties the Tornado Tyrant to Red Tornado, but I don't want to spoil it. And then we go to, I guess you can list this to under people who just never made it. Characters I loved, but just were never ready for prime time. Marvel Premiere was a book with rotating characters. It was a premiere of characters. I had shown Paladin the past plus others. So I love Torpedo. He was in a couple issues of Daredevil, written by Marv Wolfman, drawn by the guy who does the interiors here, Bob Brown. And I think this is an Al Milgrom cover. It sort of has that shorthand, but not so silly. And I know you're probably going to say, Drew, you read a dick, but that line there, that line there, that line there, it's like a huge tangent. And, if I had my druthers, though I don't know why it's supposed, maybe it's supposed to go up all that way. But it's not completed. So, touch right up there. Torpedo. So here he comes. Who's inking him here? Al Milgrom. Okay. It's not bad, but I don't know if Al does a strong, it's very chunky and quick. It's just not very complimentary. Love that view. One of his boot flyers is out of control, so he's just kind of spinning around. But there's a couple issues he did with Daredevil that are really good. And he's an ex-jock who sells insurance, and he misses the glory days. And he got this costume from the original Torpedo, who was on his deathbed and says, you have to help me complete saving the world through this, taking this bad guy out. And, it hadn't happened for, and there's his wife. Have a little intimate moment. And then, she gets stomach pains, but that's because she gets pregnant. So I spoiled it. I spoiled like a 45-year-old comic. There's a fun little Marie Severin image drawing for Crazy Magazine. I'll tell you what, this is later in the 70s, and I really thought something was weird because the letters pages in a lot of books would not be there. Instead, they'd have these in-house ads, which if you're going to replace a letters page, wouldn't you put ads for other companies out there? I mean, it was good to tell people this was out, but if you're a Marvel fan, you'll see everything out there pretty much. Okay. I love that costume. I had written and plotted an entire solo story of the Torpedo, like fanfic, okay? This is 1990, and I sent it in to Marvel. Back then, they were actually taking submissions, but they don't now for legal purposes, and I totally get that. And none of the editors, I get this. It was like, I don't know, several bucks to do each. I had like a manila folder thing, whatever, for mailing, and I sent out like 20 of them to editors and assistant editors at Marvel, and I didn't hear anything, but on a Saturday, I got a call from Don Daly, who was the editor of The Punisher, and he kind of gave me an attaboy. He says, it's not really strong, but I really appreciate that you went through all this effort and everything. So that really, it was one of those little stepstones that tells you, hey, I got something. Everything's a plateau. Maybe you'll get a letters page published, this kind of stuff. Maybe you'll win some comics art, contest. All these little things like bolster the new artist up. And at least in my case, great stuff there. Great agility. But anyway, and I did get one message back where they said, well, we're already working on a Torpedo plan. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. And then what happened is Torpedo showed up as a young girl named Turbo, who was in the New Warriors. And so I was like, oh, man. But, it was an alright character. I didn't mind. That's it. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this, and as much as I enjoyed yammering about it.